What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This. This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish up our talks on the World Tree Barbarian. The newest kid on the block, but man, this thing is really good, and I am excited to build with it today. Before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video with your friends, and of course, click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. This is going to be a really fun one. I gave this a 10 out of 10 earlier this week. I'll put that up in the icon above if you would like to know what this subclass does, but it's cool. It's very versatile, does a lot of things, brings a lot of battlefield control to a already really good dedicated damage dealer. It's fantastic. I'm really excited to get into this. We're going to have a mix of some offense and some defense in there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's jump in. Starting off, as always, we have our species, race, whatever you want to call it, and I'm gonna give you two options. Now, of course, we still have honorable mentions at the very end, but we're going to go over two options here because they both offer some pretty cool stuff, and I think they equally are important here. So either we're going to go with the Aasimar, whatever you want to say. I know they say Aasimar, but we all know it's Aasimar. But this one is obviously very good. We talked about it 2 weeks ago with the Berserker, so make sure to check that out if you haven't seen that yet. But also I wanted to mention the Dragonborn as well. Both of these actually are really, really cool. And it actually is even cooler if you can go back and take some of the possible like gem dragons and that kind of thing from the old books. But if you're not, then we'll make do with what we got in this book. But still, either of these options will work fine. What we're aiming for is a flying speed. Now, of course, if you can use like Owlin or Aarakocra or anything like that, that's probably what I would go with, because those are better of having a permanent flying speed. Each of these have something temporary, so you know, something to check out on that. But giving a flying speed is really the biggest part of this build that we want. We're going to be doing some very cheeky things with this build, and it's going to be gross, and it's going to be hilarious, and I'm very excited. So I hope you all are looking forward to that. But that is the main thing. Obviously, the Aasimar comes with a ton of amazing features. We get a healing thing, we get the light cantrip, we get a couple of resistances, which is always great, especially adding to our list of resistances. They won't come up so much in early game, but late game, they definitely become a lot more valuable, so that's cool. Dragonborn, we do get a resistance depending on what type of dragon we choose, and we get a breath weapon as well, which is cool. It gives us a nice little ranged option, which is not too bad. And you know, our constitution is going to be pretty decent on a character like this, so it's going to be usable. It's going to be very usable. Either of these races are going to work just fine. And again, I'll have some more options at the very end. For our stats, of course, we're doing our normal point buy this week. And I'm going to take a 15 in strength, I'm going to take a 14 dexterity, a 15 in constitution, and of course putting my +2 in strength, +1 in constitution. Then we're going to completely dump intelligence and charisma and take a 10 in wisdom. For background, we're going to mix things up a little bit this week. We've gone soldier the past couple of weeks. This time, I think it's time that we go with the farmer, because we don't need to do anything to our dexterity due to our stats this week. I don't think that we need it, so we're going to go with farmer instead, because that gives us the tough feat. That is very important. It's definitely better than savage attacker, especially on this build, so I like that a lot more. We also get animal handling and nature, again, better skills there, and we also get carpenter's tools. Doesn't matter. Tools are fine, whatever. For equipment, I'm actually going to recommend that we do wear armor this week. We're going to be at a 14 dex, and we're going to leave it there the whole way, so I'd grab some medium armor there. I'd grab a shield just in case. We won't be using it all the time. And then I've got two weapon choices that we can have here. My primary is, of course, going to be the longsword. I think the longsword works great. It gives us the sap weapon mastery, which I think is really cool. We have not explored that yet really here on the channel, but it also has the versatile feature, which of course is going to work with our battering roots feature a little bit later on. It's a D8 for damage, not too bad. The secondary weapon I would grab here is a halberd. These both give slashing damage, which is great. We get the cleave mastery on the halberd, which isn't too bad, and actually we're going to make use of that a little bit more as we go, and we also get reach with this as well. So we're going to make use of all of these things as we go. It's going to be really cool. So let's start taking some levels. We are going to start off as a barbarian, and we're going to be that for a little while until we consider doing something else. But yeah, we get Rage, Unarmored Defense, and Weapon Mastery here at level 1. Rage, of course, being our main feature here, giving us some resistances, giving us better help with our strength stuff, which is great. All of the things are so good with Rage. Again, if you ever need to know what exactly the Barbarian does here in 2024, I've got that video right up there in the iCard above to check out there. We also have Unarmored Defense. Of course, Unarmored Defense allows us to possibly use this as our calculation for our AC. Right now, it's better that we just go with some armor for now. That could change in the future, but until taking that feature is better than wearing medium armor, we're going to stick with wearing medium armor for now. And of course, our weapon masteries, of course, we're going to apply to the longsword and the halberd, and that's what we're going to rock for now. At Barbarian 2, we're going to get Danger Sense and Reckless Attack, both things that got majorly buffed going into this into these new rules. Very, very cool, helping us with our dexterity saves, and of course Reckless Attack allowing us to attack with advantage all the time, which is fantastic. Now, we also get attacked all the time with advantage if we're using this, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Why not? Then at Barbarian 3, we get our subclass, and of course, Vitality of the Tree comes online here. We, of course, gain some temporary HP when we use the feature with our Rage, and we also get to then top off anybody around us, one creature around us, every single turn, which is really, really cool. I'm using that all the time. It's great. It's really, really fun. We also get Primal Knowledge, which of course gives us another skill proficiency, making us a skill monkey too, which is great. I love that Barbarians get to be the skill monkeys as well. You know, Bards always are the main ones for that, but having this on here too definitely makes us a lot more well-rounded. At Barbarian 4, we get our first regular feat, general feats as they are called, and we're going to go with Slasher. Of course, this will not only shore up our odd number strength, but it also is going to allow us to slow down enemies, which is going to be another part of our strategy. One thing I'm finding with Barbarians is that they really, really like speed control. They really, really like slowing people down and knocking them prone and doing all this weird stuff. It's fun. It's really cool, and definitely is gnarly when your DM is going to start doing that to you too, so watch out for that. At Barbarian 5, we now get extra attack as well as fast movement, so now we're hitting twice in a turn, which is great, and we also get fast movement, so we are just faster. So two amazing things to help us out as the offensive, very, very fast, very, very hard-hitting creature that we are. Now at level 6, we get Branches of the Tree. This is my personal favorite feature of this entire subclass. This feature is so fun. It allows us to possibly teleport other people to us up to 30 feet. Now, here's where the strategy starts coming into play, and it will develop as we go. But for right now, the strategy would be we can now fly 30 feet in the air above a creature. When that creature's turn comes up, we use our reaction to possibly pull that creature to us straight up in the air, right? Now that creature is hanging up in the air, immediately falls. So now you are taking some damage. You also are landing prone, and your speed is 0. So now you are just prone, 0 speed, laying on the ground, can't do anything. You then on your next turn can fly the 30 feet down. You now are within melee range. Or if you're with a halberd, you can only fly down 25 feet and still be there. And now you can make your attacks with advantage, which is fantastic. And because you are using the Slasher, it now only has 5 feet of movement left if it is going to stand up and it had a 30-foot move speed. So it's not going anywhere. That creature's not going anywhere, and then it can just get stuck in a vicious cycle as you get back up in the air. This is a gnarly thing, and it's just self-sufficient. You don't have to do anything. It just does it for you. It's so fun. And of course, you can do this with allies too. I wouldn't do them 30 feet in the air, but you can pull them away from a gnarly melee attacker. You can pull a melee attacker to you and say, no, you're fighting me, not that person. There's so much you can do with this feature, and it's so fun. It's so fun. And we're going to make this even better as we go. Now, at this level, now that we have Branches of the Tree, I think it is time that we look elsewhere. And of course, it's to the fighter. Come on, we had to go fighter a little bit on this, but it's cool. It's cool. We're going to get, of course, a fighting style right off the bat. Defense makes a lot of sense here. Interception could be the play here as well. I personally like defense. Now, like I said, interception is cool because you can get people near you, and so that way you can actually use this. And of course, you also have a couple other options because you have a shield, so protection is an option as well. So could be a thing. It's up to you, but there are definitely possibilities there. We also get second wind here, which is a nice little bonus action heal. We're probably not going to use this for healing most of the time, just because it's not going to be all that much, because we're not going to be very high level in fighter. And then we also get weapon mastery, completely redundant, does not matter. Then at fighter 2, we get action surge. Wonderful, fantastic. That person is now prone. You go down, blow action surge, and you are doing tons and tons of damage. Absolutely fantastic. We also get tactical mind here, and this is what we're going to be using second wind on pretty much all the time to help us out with a skill check, which is nice. And then fighter 3, again, I would go with the Battlemaster, of course. This is really cool. Now, I had somebody asking me in the comments whether or not I will be using things that are not included in the PHB. That's a great question because it's kind of in a weird spot, right? It's tough because I know that some tables are very, very strict, and it's like, this is the only thing that's been balanced to 2024. This is all we're using, da-da-da-da-da. There are going to be plenty of other tables that are going to say, use whatever you want. They said it's backwards compatible, use it, whatever, it doesn't matter. So to me, I'm actually going to say that I think there's another option that is better, and I'm going to mention that in the honorable mentions. But at least for right now, using things that are just in the 2024 book, I'm going to go with Battlemaster. So stick around for the honorable mentions if you want to know what I actually think is better, and we'll go from there. But so for combat superiority, we're going to get 3 options for maneuvers. Riposte makes a lot of sense here because then that allows us to attack you when it's not our turn, which is good. And that also allows us to possibly then again apply slasher, which is cool. Slasher is not restricted to your turn. It just says once per turn. So as long as it only happens once, then that's fine. So we can definitely do that, which again is going to keep people from getting away from us. I think maneuvering attack is important. It's similar to the branches of the tree kind of thing, using it on our allies to be able to move people around. It's a lot more restricted, obviously, but definitely can be nice and keeps our reaction alive, which is good. And finally, I would take sweeping attack. Now, sweeping attack, I understand, is redundant with the halberd's cleave. Those do essentially the same thing. However, being able to spread around any of these effects is pretty cool, and being able to choose what creature is affected is nice. I like being able to hit multiple creatures in one turn, so definitely really cool. And so if you are starting to get surrounded and you need to apply something gnarly, this can help you in that, to be able to make sure that you can technically double up on these effects because you've got multiple sources that are actually giving that to you, which is cool. You also get Student of War here. Don't really care about that all that much, but I do think it's fine. Then we're going to go back to Barbarian, and we're going to be here the rest of the way. We get Feral Instinct and Instinctive Pounce here. Definitely very, very interesting features. I like them personally. I know that they're not the most powerful things out there, but definitely not too bad. At Barbarian 8, we get our next general feat. I'm just going to bump strength. I want it to be maxed out. We might as well do it. So we are going to go for that here. At Barbarian 9, we get Brutal Strike. Very, very much a better feature than its counterpart back in 2014 with Brutal Critical. That was just way too limited, and so now we get a lot more mileage out of this now, which is really good. At Barbarian 10, we get Battering Roots. This is the cool thing, right? This is what allows us to extend our range when we are attacking. Now, this only applies on our turn, unfortunately, so we can't do anything on opportunity attacks. There's a lot of weird restrictions here, and of course, because Polearm Master got nerfed, and because Sentinel is weird, and because all these other things now, we can't. It's not as powerful as it sounds, but still, the ability now is we are a melee fighter that can fly 30 feet above a creature. When the creature has its turn, we use our reaction. Hopefully they fail the strength save. Now, I will say, strength is one of those saves that a lot of monsters are going to pass, right? And it happens. So here's what we do. We get up there 30 feet. Assuming they fail the save, you pick them up. They now fall 30 feet. They land prone, right? You now, on your turn, have 30 feet of movement. Actually, you have more than that because of fast movement. And so now you fly down until you are right at that radius. Either you have a 20-foot range with a halberd, or you have a 15-foot radius with a long sword, and you smack, and if it is a halberd, you might be able to get some extra hits in there. If it is a long sword, now that creature is in a really weird spot because you've essentially taunted them. But if it is a melee attacker, it can't reach you. So it's in a really weird spot. Plus, it has to try to stand up, and you also just applied slasher to it too. So it can't really go anywhere, and it just gets stuck in the cycle, which is just super fun. I think that is amazingly good, and I'm a huge fan. Barbarian 11, we get Relentless Rage. Of course, this is a nice little survival feature. Not too bad. Definitely a big buff over its counterpart last time, so I'm not against that at all. Barbarian 12, I'm going to start buffing up our Constitution. I don't know why we wouldn't do that. It helps our AC. If we are to go now with the Unarmored Defense, it's going to boost our hit points, and we're a tank, so we want to do that. For all the reasons, I think it's fantastic. At Barbarian 13, we get Improved Brutal Strike. We, of course, get 2 more options here that we can use, and I think those are all pretty great. Then Barbarian 14, we get Travel Along the Tree. This is not too bad. Being able to just teleport as a bonus action up to 60 feet is cool. Now keep in mind, of course, this does technically conflict with Vitality of the Tree, being able to top off the temporary hit points. But I mean, because the temporary hit points only work within a 10-foot radius, you're probably not going to be able to do this every single turn. Hopefully you can, but it's not going to happen every single turn. So on those turns that it doesn't work, you of course have a really nice radius of teleport. And then even then, sometimes you can then move up 150 feet and bring people with you once per rage, which is also really good. Definitely better than the UA was originally going to make this. Level 15, well, Barbarian 15, level 18 overall, we get Persistent Rage, which is cool. We're going to be able to keep our rages a lot more consistently. At Barbarian 16, we get our final general feat. Again, I'm going to bump Constitution. I don't think there's a better option for us at this point than just maxing that out, which is pretty cool. And then finally, level 20, Barbarian 17, our Improved Brutal Strike, now allowing us to do 2 of those instead of just 1. So that is our build for today. I think this is so fun, right? It's a very basic structure as far as how the levels go, but honestly, there is so much that is built into this. I don't mind that. I think it's super fun, even with how basic it really is. It's cool. We had to go 6 levels in this time. Normally, when you are going to be multi-classing a barbarian, normally you just go 5 levels. Branches of the Tree is too good to wait on. It just is. There is no reason why I would ever push that off. So I'm always going 6 levels before I consider doing anything else ever on this build. Speaking of anything else, let's talk about honorable mentions. For other racial species options, whatever, you have the same 3 as last week, honestly. A lot of them are going to be the same winners all the time. Goliath, Dwarf, and Gnome. For very obvious reasons in my book, but Goliath of course gives us a really nice little passive thing, kind of like what the Rune Knight used to do. It's actually almost exactly what the Rune Knight used to do, which is great. The Rune Knight was very strong, and of course there are a few other great features that this gets. Of course, talked about it a lot when we actually covered the Berserker a couple weeks ago. I misspoke earlier in the video. We did the Aasimar last week because of how it interacted with the Bear Totem, and then we actually talked about the Goliath the first week. But yeah, either way, very strong option for the Barbarian. Very cool. Dwarves of course make a lot of sense now too. They got buffed a lot coming into the new rules, and they're super fun. They're super fun. They don't have the nerfed movement speed anymore. That helps a lot. And of course they get a couple really cool features that are very unique to PCs. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. I like that a lot. And of course the Gnome, the big thing here of course is that boost to your mental saves. Our mental saves are really bad from what you saw in the opening there on the stats. So this definitely is going to help us out in that front. For other feat options, Mage Slayer is really cool, especially with the huge radius we have. There is no specification that we have to be right next to the mage or the magic user in these rules, so we can do this from any distance as long as we can hit that creature. So we're going to be breaking concentration all over the place if you can get a hold of that. Sentinel and Polar Master are the other two I wanted to mention here. Now, you have to keep in mind that those did get nerfed, right? Great Weapon Master and these two all got completely changed because of how they all interacted with each other in 2014. They didn't like how that was balanced. So, you know, like the Polar Master attack is not technically an opportunity attack, and it's kind of it's a whole weird thing. Sentinel is weird, and it's a whole thing, right? There's a lot going on there, but basically they did everything they could to prevent the really cool broken stuff that we did in 2014. So I'm not as keen on taking them now just because they did get nerfed, but I wanted to at least mention them because they are somewhat relevant. And finally, for other class options, the Rogue is actually going to be my top choice here, and honestly all we need is 2 levels. The ability to dash on a bonus action is super cool, and you could even technically go Monk on this, but this has a lot less restrictions as far as what our stats need to be, so I'm going to go with Rogue. I think that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of stat restrictions, the Ranger, that would be 4 stats that need to be pretty decent unless you end up dumping Constitution on a Barbarian, which is a bad idea. But yeah, the Gloomstalker Ranger again is really cool. Even in melee, I think this does a lot of work. Now, we would probably want to rely a lot more on our unarmored defense to make sure that we can be a little more sneaky if we went this route, but we could work that out if we needed to. And finally, I wanted to mention that that other fighter option. It's the Rune Knight. You know, I mentioned it on the Goliath with it getting some of those features now, but the Rune Knight is honestly my top choice here. The ability to grow, all of the passive buffs that we get, as well as all the active things that you get. You just get such a nice package, really, at level 3, and I think it's really fantastic. So that is my top option if you are not locked into only the things in the 2024 book. I would go Rune Knight personally, and I think that is very, very strong. So that is all for today's build. I hope you all liked it. Make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything later on. Of course, we started a brand new season of Pokemon Draft League. We started in the KPL, and of course we chose only Pokemon that Markiplier would smash. So we're taking things very seriously this season, and of course game 1 of that season goes up on Friday. We went ahead and put up our draft analysis this past week, and I will go ahead and put that up in the iCard above for you to check out for those of you who want to see that. Next week we're going to be covering the final of the 2024 subclasses, and that is the Zealot Barbarian. I'll just tell you there's not a whole lot to talk about, but we are going to talk about it anyway, and then we will see how that does compared to the other subclasses. So until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.